How y'all doing out there? Left Lane here, come making another video. It's September 11th, 2018. It's 12:30 in the afternoon. It's a review of the Tennessee TSU game. Tennessee won over 59-3. But before we do that, I just want to take a moment of silence to remember the ones that lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. The firefighters, all the emergency personnel, first responders, and all the people in, all the planes and the buildings. I just want to take a moment of silence to remember those. Okay, thanks once again, it will go down in history as the greatest tragedy on American soil. Some say, well, Pearl Harbor ranks right there with it. I wanted to, there's not a review for the game. It was a great game. I mean, I love the outcome. There are some concerns, especially the offensive line. 4 of 10 on third downs. Yeah, that's a concern. Defensive line is another one. I mean, I think they're improving just a little bit. But the fact you only had one sack against this offense, ETSU's offensive line, that's a concern. I think the speed has, I don't know. There are probably some other factors that go into that. And then obviously the third downs. Those three areas, I think, are, if we can get those cushioned out, smoothed out, fix them, whatever, we're going to have a good team. We're going to win some games and make a bowl game. But I want to go over some stats from the game, and we'll get into a couple other things. I want to talk about the Florida game. Not so much the game itself, but what network's going to air it and why. Time of possession was 30-52 to 29-08 in the favor of Tennessee. 19 first downs to 9. There was 10 rushing, 8 passing. And then they had, it was 5 rushing and 4 passing. Again, third downs 4 of 10, and they were 2 of 15. 2 of 15 is good for the defense. Like I said, these two games are confidence-building games to get their confidence up before we play Florida. Before that gauntlet, that 5 games. Florida, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina. I mean, that's a tough stretch. And every one of those, other than Florida, every one of those other 4 teams are ranked right now, I think. I don't know about South Carolina. Fourth downs, 1 of 1, and then ETSU was 1 of 3. Total play, 60 to 58. We had 6.8 per play. They had 3.2. Rushing, 190 to 125. We had 4.3 per rush, and they had 4.3 per rush. Passing was 218 yards to their 63. Shout out to the defense on that. I know, obviously, it's a lower caliber team, so that's what should be expected, and that's what they did. So, props on that. 13.6 per pass, 2.2 per pass. 11 of 16, and then they were 12 of 29. We each had a sack for 6 yards, 8 touchdowns to 0. Then we forced 3 turnovers, and they had 0. And then 2 interceptions for 54 yards. 3 turnovers, that one, well, previous game against West Virginia. That puts us at +4 for the year. That's a good way to start out the season. Some notables here. Jared Garantano was 8-13 for 154 yards. Keller Trist was 3 for 3 for 1 touchdown with 70 yards. Tim Jordan 15 for 65. Madre London 13 for 59 with 2 touchdowns. Jeremy Banks 13 of 62 for 2 touchdowns. And Josh Palmer 1 for 20 with 1 touchdown. Just a quick note, or just a quick thought here. These young backs, Jeremy Banks and Madre London, and Tim Jordan, those 3 guys with Ty Chandler, we are going to have a stable of running backs, and they all have different styles. So it makes it hard to prepare for because any one of these guys could start on this team. I think we're saving Ty Chandler for Florida, which we should. We'll be fine with the other 3 for UTEP. Marquez Callaway had 5 receptions for 78 yards. Jordan Murphy was 4 for 80 with 1 touchdown. Josh Palmer was 1 for 51. ETSU, some notables. Logan Markey was 11 of 26 for 72 yards and 2 interceptions. And for receptions, Keith Coffey was 4 for 30. There wasn't a whole lot of stats for them to report, so they just didn't have a lot of offense. I want to touch on the Florida game real quick. I think for the first time since 2012, the game's not going to be aired on CBS at 3:30 Eastern time. And here's why. I mean, Florida and Tennessee are at the bottom of the East right now. I mean, they were both 4-8 last year. So why would CBS want to air that game? They want to air a game that has ranked teams, that has some interest in it, it has some meaning. Yeah, it has meaning, but to them. So I expect the game to be on the SEC network. Probably 7:30. It's either ESPN or SEC network, one of the 2. So there's your reasons why. These teams are just bad. At one time, they were the epitome of the SEC East. I mean, they were the top dogs. Now they're at the bottom. They'll be back. It's going to take a few years, but they'll be back. I don't know how quick, but they'll be back. So that's my thoughts on that. Like I said, the areas of concern: third downs, offensive line, and then defense, offensive line, third downs. Again, we got to keep in mind that this is a young team, and as long as I can see improvement game to game, that's the important thing. Because we got to give time for Pruitt to get his recruits in here and develop them. I mean, he's dealing with Coach Jones and the underdeveloped players. But we just got to be patient. I think, again, 6 wins is doable. But Florida is the key. Obviously, we got to win Saturday against UTEP, which I don't see that being a problem. But Florida's the key. Because you get Florida. If you get Florida, you go to Georgia 3-1. So then, if you can... Now, I know Kentucky looked really good against Florida. But if you can get Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Charlotte, there's your 6 wins. If you don't get Florida, then you still have to beat Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Charlotte, and you have to either get Missouri or South Carolina. And both those teams, They looked good last year. South Carolina didn't look very good against Georgia, but again, Georgia's one of the top teams in the country. So we'll find out how good these teams are as the season rolls on. So I think that's how we get our 6 wins. Florida's winnable. But that's my thoughts on the game. If you have any questions, if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, leave comments. I'm very open to a lot of things, and I'm open to all your opinions. So I appreciate y'all watching. Hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.